The evening had started like any other, quiet, unassuming, and routine. Claire and I were invited to a dinner gathering with her friends, something she insisted on regularly. She always encouraged me to join, and I always reluctantly agreed. I knew my role in these social settings: smile, nod, and blend it into the background. That was enough for me. It was just another night of making small talk and enduring her friends' endless chatter. But little did I know, by the end of the night, everything would change. The routine I had grown accustomed to was about to fracture, leaving me exposed and unprepared for the chaos that would soon unfold. There's something about these gatherings, a tension in the air, like a subtle undercurrent of discomfort that most people don't acknowledge. I had learned to ignore it over time, focusing on the food and the polite conversation, pretending everything was normal. But tonight, something felt different. What started as an ordinary evening would end in a way I never anticipated. It started with Claire's laughter, sharp, louder than it had ever been. I didn't even have time to prepare. The sudden splash of red wine hit my face before I could react. The warmth of it dripped down my cheek, mingling with the awkward silence that followed. Her laughter echoed in the space between us, filling my ears with a cruel sense of amusement. The smell of alcohol lingered in the air, adding to the tension, and I felt as if the room had shrunk, all eyes now on me. I froze. Time seemed too slow. The once lively background noise of the restaurant faded, leaving only Claire's laughter in my mind. Her friends sat still, some giggling nervously, others unsure of how to react. I was exposed, vulnerable, the center of attention, in a way I had never asked for. The sting of humiliation began to settle deep within me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something darker was at play. Claire's laughter wasn't the playful kind. It was sharp, cutting, and deliberate. She looked at me with a smirk that said everything I needed to know. Her eyes were full of amusement as she sneered. "Why are you always acting like such an idiot?" The words were a slap in the face, and her tone made it clear. This wasn't a mistake. She wanted to hurt me. Her friends reacted with awkward glances, some trying to stifle their giggles, while others seemed uncomfortable, but said nothing. It wasn't the first time Claire had humiliated me like this, in front of others, but something felt different tonight. She was enjoying it. Her eyes were colder, her cruelty more calculated. The sting of her words burned more than the wine on my skin. I wanted to yell, to defend myself, to throw the wine back at her. But instead, I sat there, silently holding back the rising tide of anger. I grabbed a napkin, dabbing at my face slowly. The napkin was a poor attempt at erasing the humiliation, but it couldn't wipe away the feeling of powerlessness that had taken root inside me. The eyes of the room were all on me. They were waiting, expecting me to react in some way, lash out, storm off, or maybe even laugh it off, like I always did. But tonight, something inside me snapped. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I stood up slowly, not caring about the mess I was making of my shirt, not caring about the awkwardness that now filled the air. I walked away from the table, feeling the whispers of her friends follow me as I made my way to the door. Claire's laughter still echoed in my ears, but I didn't let it stop me. The floor seemed to stretch on forever, and each step I took felt like a small victory. I was no longer the man who would just sit there, accepting whatever Claire dished out. For the first time, I was in control of my actions, and that felt powerful. By the time I reached my car, the anger had dissolved, replaced by a strange sense of clarity. The cold of the wine still clung to my skin, but it wasn't just the wine. It was everything. Years of subtle insults, the constant undermining, the way Claire had always made me feel insignificant. As I drove, memories flashed through my mind. The times she belittled me, the moments she dismissed my feelings, and how I had convinced myself it wasn't that bad. I had let each instance slide, thinking it was just a phase or that I was overreacting. But now, in the stillness of the car, I realized how much it had all built up over the years. I had become accustomed to her cruelty, excusing it as just part of our dynamic. But no more. The glass of wine wasn't just a mistake. It was a symbol of everything I had endured, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I knew something had changed. This wasn't just another night of Claire humiliating me. This was the end. The wine on my skin wasn't just a stain. It was a mark of everything she had done to me, a reminder of the years I had spent bending to her will, pretending it was okay. I walked into the house, the silence heavy around me, the photos on the walls, the decorations she had chosen. It all felt foreign, like a reminder that I had been living in her world, not ours. The weight of the house's quietness suffocated me, and for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't just existing alongside her. I was done with it. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the reflection of the man I had become. The house was silent, but it wouldn't be for long. I heard Claire's footsteps down the hall, and I knew she wasn't expecting me to be sitting there, waiting for her. When she stepped into the kitchen, the smirk that usually graced her face faltered for just a second. She was caught off guard, but I said nothing. I simply looked at her, waiting for her to speak first. She didn't disappoint. "You're not still upset about that, are you?" Her voice was sharp, dismissive. "It was just a joke." She shrugged, trying to downplay everything that had just happened. I didn't respond. I just waited, letting the silence between us stretch. I reached for the notepad I had tucked away on the counter. The list was long, longer than I ever imagined it would be. It wasn't just a list of insults or moments of cruelty. It was everything she had done to me over the years, each entry a reminder of the person I had become under her control. Claire's eyes narrowed as she looked at the list. "What is this?" she sneered. I closed the notebook slowly, setting it down with a quiet finality. "It's a list of everything you've ever done to me." For the first time, Claire's quick wit faltered. There was no snarky comeback, no cutting remark. She was lost for words, the arrogance that usually filled her faltering in the face of my resolve. I wasn't going to back down anymore. I wasn't the same man I had been earlier that night. Claire tried to dismiss me again, but this time her words held no power. I had seen through her facade, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. This wasn't just about a glass of wine or a bad joke. It was about everything she had put me through, years of belittling, mocking, and making me feel small. I stood up, the decision clear in my mind. I wasn't going to live in her world anymore. I walked out of the kitchen, leaving her in the quiet, still confusion of her own making. As I stepped out of the house, I knew this was just the beginning of something new, something better.